Today we're looking at the Koch family. Now, this is not the Coca-Cola you might be thinking of. This is one of the richest, elitist, and most powerful families in the entire world. We're going to dig into what they do, how they got their wealth, their history, and more importantly, what they do with all their funds, how they disperse that, how they avoid paying a lot of taxes and structure themselves in a way. So, if you're interested in that, stick around. Let's get into it. And for those of you that are new, I'm KC Chauhan, a founder of togethercfo, and what we do on this channel is we break down how the elites are set up, a little bit of history about them, but more importantly, how you can set up in the same entire way as them, so you can also save money on taxes completely legally if you follow the right system. All right, let's get into it. The Koch family, huge family, firstly, my goodness. These guys are worth billions of dollars, right? They are engaged in all types of different businesses, which you've probably never even heard of. This gives them the name the Kochtopus. It's quite a fun name, like an even Bond villain type family. But they are in everything from petrochemical stuff, oils, and you name it, all the way down to food in your grocery store, which, in my opinion, might not be real food. It might be a little bit poisonous, right? But what do I know? Let's look into the history. Let's see what they've actually been doing, how they operate behind the scenes, the family dynamics as well. You know, this is another thing that we touch on, is that just because you have all the money in the world does not mean you have a happy family. Does not mean you don't argue. So how is that within these billionaire families that everything is magnified? They have all their own different agendas and personalities. It's so weird sometimes how kids can grow up in exactly the same household and be completely different, right? You have right-wing liberals, you have other family members doing deals with the Soviet Union and the Nazis. So let's break that down and get into it. As we know, Koch Industries is one of the largest, if not the second largest privately owned company in America, with estimated revenue of 125 billion a year. It was initially started by Fred. He figured out how to refine heavy crude oils, right, into gas. Now, you can only imagine the power that would have gave this guy, right? So he then started his own company, and then up until this day, they have over 120,000 employees, reportedly. So yeah, we're talking some major numbers here, right? What he did was he figured out how to create a more efficient oil refining process, right? Despite getting numerous lawsuits from all of his competitors, he expanded his operations internationally. Notably, the biggest thing was the Soviet Union, right? He went in with Stalin, set up all those refineries, and then soon got kicked out when he wasn't needed anymore. He then moved from Soviet Union into the Nazi Germany at that time, before coming back to America and focusing on those American markets. The international experience that he got from working in these two communist countries was ridiculous, right? Imagine night and day different to America. If you can succeed in the Soviet Union and Nazi America, you're going to clean up here. So when he came back, he absolutely crushed it, right? This guy went from strength to strength, all to do with this Koch Industries company initially. And then that's where the Kochtopus kind of sprawls out its tentacles and kind of goes into many different directions, right? So the Koch brothers, as you may have heard more recently, right? So this is Charles and David. They inherited the significant amount of the business from Fred. Again, it's all in a baseline of oil refining technology. So they're an oil refining technology company at heart. Then the two boys, Charles and David, just took it to the next level. They had a really good head start, don't get me wrong. When you got a multi-billionaire empire, it's pretty hard to mess that up, although we've seen it in the past. But these guys were smart. Fred was pretty smart in terms of educating his kids. They all have degrees from top universities, whether that's MIT or Harvard or a mixture of both. Problem is, there's always a power struggle, right? We've seen this time and time again. We saw it in some of the previous videos that we've done. We've seen it in TV shows as well, which is based on real life events, right? So the power struggle led to the ousting of Frederick and Bill. Those reportedly at the time, they bought shares for nearly $800 million back in '83. Charles Koch, who remained chairman and co-CEO of Koch Industries, then he diversified the business into many other products, right? Including the stuff that you use daily, like cleaners, paper products, chemicals, electronics, software. He just went nuts. He just literally went everywhere. Charles's son, Chase, he then runs the venture capital subsidiary called Koch Disruptive Technologies and also directs 2 of their non-profits. And what they do within all of these companies is they have these non-profit entities. We'll get into that in a different video. It needs a deep dive, right? But they can donate money, have a tax write-off in their various different entities, and then it can all roll up into these 2 non-profits. I'm sure there's more, but we know that for certain, Chase runs 2 of them. As an example, the 2 non-profits received $5.3 billion of stock in Koch Industries, right? So you can see how you're taking money from one hand, using it on the next, getting a tax deduction over here, controlling it over here. It's the father here, it's the son here. There's a whole host of different things and structures going on within this family, right? Let's just get into some of the tax strategies and the loopholes that these guys use. Very controversial, some of them. They have been reported, allegedly, to use complex structures, loopholes to minimize tax liability. Nothing wrong with that. We should all be doing that because it's our right, our legal right, to reduce our taxes as legally possible. Just play within the rules, right? These guys just happen to know the rules a lot better than you and I, right? They have an army of people, both nationally and internationally, running their stuff for them, sending money from here to there, just to legally avoid taxes, right? For instance, they've set up a company in Luxembourg, leveraging Luxembourg law to funnel profits and reduce tax in America. The company Artiva Europe is essentially a financial entity that they use to manage funds across their Koch network. The Koch network, the Koch depository, you know? This is awesome, really, when you think about it, because on one hand, these guys should be paying billions or tens of billions of dollars in taxes, but legally, they are setting up companies all over the place and loaning money back and forth. The interest's going in one direction and getting written off. The principal's going into a different direction and getting written off. So they know how to play the game at this level. Obviously, they're the top 1% or top 1% of the 1% and have been for a while, right? Old money stuff. If you want more information on how you can set up something similar domestically, hit the link below and we'll jump on a call with you, right? But now let's get back into the Koch family. The political influence, like these guys, then once you make all the money, you have to control the politics, right? That's where America is right now. It's the lobbyists that fund everything. They then buy these senators and the people in power. They then pass these stupid laws that allow people to be poisoned by eating likes of cereal and kids' foods, which should never be consumed by humans, right? But it all starts with politics and it all comes from money. So you have to have the money first with the big corporations. Let's use $125 billion a year. That will buy you a lot of lobbying groups, think tanks, and political muscle aimed at promoting and deregulating things to your advantage, whether that's directly tax related or whether that's related to their chemical industry. They have so much power. And I actually got into a bit of an argument with one of my close friends about this. She had no idea how government runs, right? So the government runs by people getting elected. But the minute they're elected, they just want to fundraise so they can get back into power again. This is how they do it, through rich families and donors and lobbyist groups like the Koch family. They are heavily rooted in this, even though they are supposedly right-wing. It's just confusing and the tentacles run deep, and especially with the multiple brothers. Under the leadership of Charles and David, Koch Industries expanded far beyond the oil refinery, right? We went into various different industries that they went into. Chemicals were the main one, energy, textiles, you name it. You probably have a cupboard full of Koch Industries products, but they're smart. They don't put their name on it all, right? So they have various different brands, and it's so funny if you look into this. This happens quite a lot, but if you just walk down the aisle of a supermarket and you see many different products, there's probably about 10 companies that all of these products are created by when you roll it up all the way to the top. The Kochs are one of those families that control hundreds of brands and products. Yet when you're in the supermarket and you're looking at peanut butter 1 versus peanut butter 2, you just think it's peanut butter, when it's these big corporations and these big families behind these corporations that are actually controlling and running all of that. David was the executive president until about a year before he died back in 2019. And his family, Charles, has 42% of the stock there. Bill went on to start his own energy company, while Frederick was the philanthropist and went more into the arts up until his death in 2020, right? The family dynamics also played a huge role in shaping the business. A huge family feud, like we mentioned earlier, between Charles and David when consolidating power and buying out their brothers, Bill and Fred. The consolidation allowed them to get rid of all of the internal politics, right? They used to always wind each other up. These are all spoiled brats. Like I said, reported the second largest privately held company in the world, and you've never even heard of them. What does that tell you? They are intentionally wanting to keep under the radar as much as a billionaire can, but it's in their best interests not to have their family name on everything, because half of the stuff they do poisons us. With that said, if you would like to learn more about how they are structured from a tax savings perspective, then hit the link below, set up a call with our team, and we'll show you exactly how they do it, but then more importantly, how you can do the exact same thing for you and your family to create your lasting legacy. I'm Casey Chauhan, founder of Together CFO. Peace.